Hello, hello! As of November 8, Razer released the AK polling firmware for the Viper V2 Pro. The comparison between the Viper and the GPX is a video I've been wanting to make. Both of these mice are amazing in terms of performance. However, there are diminishing returns for the polling rate over the battery life, and it's proven by so many YouTubers, and it's backed up by blah 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 data and also blah 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 science. This video really is just my thoughts on repairing and design choice options, and hopefully it will give you some insight to how these mice can be repaired. Personally, the Viper V2 Pro shape took a while for me to get used to. This is coming from someone who came from large ergo mice like the G603 or the Viper V2 Pro. The shape itself does allow for palming, or more accurately, the extension of your ring finger. However, the side lip of the paddle has an overhang which can be felt compared to the GPX, where there is a raised wall, which also allows for a multitude of different gripping types. Nonetheless, the build quality for the Viper V2 Pro has been phenomenal. Disassembly has been painless and easy. The shell itself is completely detached from the internal hardwares. Side buttons are lumped with the internal hardware, and the shell exists as one entity. And like the Aerox 3 wireless, I do think it's a very good design and I love it. I do have one major shell design complaint, is that the Viper V2 Pro has this quasi-integrated paddles rather than having it completely separate. The screw here is a lie! This poses a bit of an issue where gunk and debris does slip inside to the tab side of the paddle. However, the end tab does look like it's welded via plastic expansion rather than actual plastic riveting. This means if I have to pop something out, I could probably put everything back together along with the screw and just stick a soldering iron just to kind of seal it and expand it back out again. Other than that, the Viper V2 Pro uses optical switches, which means I don't have to worry about soldering them, and also probably users could enjoy the longevity of the main switches. Even if replacements are needed, just popping them out and replacing them with optical switches that has the same form factor is pretty easy. As a quick PSA, optical switches with designs like the LK Opticals, Razer Gen 2 and 3s, and also Titan Opticals used by Roccat. If you guys have any issues with the main switch double clicking, try to disassemble the mouse and pop open the switch, check for any blockages of the area that breaks the light, and also try to clean the light emitting diode. The middle button uses the square switch, which offers tactile feeling, but measuring and looking for the correct size switch can be a task for future repair. Scroll wheel encoder is rather lacking in tactility, but if you were to grab other 12mm encoders, you should be good. The good thing about the Viper V2 Pro is after you disassemble everything, putting everything back together is very easy. Now, on to the G Pro X Superlight. The entirety of the G Pro X Superlight, on the other hand, is fairly more complicated. You will need to be careful the moment you open the mouse, especially minding the ribbon cable. Although the GPX iteration is easier and safer to open up compared to the older G Pro wireless, ribbon cables are still very delicate. However, the disassembly always, obviously, pales in difficulty compared to the Aerox 5 wireless. A quick note about the G Pro X Superlight. The GPX came out in 2020, and during that time, many releases with mechanical switches are often kept to one PCB board. If the users would like to replace the mechanical switches, any accidents and burning of the solder switch joints will completely ruin the whole mouse. Logitech is one of the best performing brands that uses separate PCB boards for dedicated functions. As far as I'm aware, the other brands that does the same thing would be Zowie and Vaxi, following the same detachable PCB design pattern. This means even if users are to mess up the solder joints for the switchboards, they can easily repair their mice by purchasing aftermarket components. These PCB separations exist on the Logitech's G305, G603, G703, G903. The list goes on and on. I think it's definitely one of the aspects of Logitech mice that goes underappreciated. Just to give the viewers a bit of a heads up, I don't do any performance testing. I don't have the tools, I don't have the space. But both of these mice are tested to be top of the line in terms of motion and click latency. And for personal opinion, I tend to hit my shots a little bit more consistently using the G Pro X Superlight compared to the Viper V2 Pro. I suspect it has something to do with my monkey brain liking tactile feedback rather than mushy responses from optical switches. So, in conclusion, I do hope this might shed some light on the repairability of these mice for those who are looking for a long lasting product. Both of these two are great mice, and one more thing to take into account is that due to the popularity of the G Pro X Superlight, aftermarket parts are incredibly easy to come by. On the other hand, Razer's Gen 3 optical switches can also be bought, however, it is a little bit more pricey compared to mechanical switches. But disassembly of the Viper V2 Pro is much more easier compared to the GPX. Thank you for listening to my analysis, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Thank you.